My stepbrother stands out in a way that's hard to miss. When I say different, I truly mean it. He's incredibly reserved, yet for some reason, girls are always glancing his way. Maybe it's because of his tall, attractive frame, but he appears indifferent to all the attention. No girlfriend, no close pals, just him and his beloved books. I often tease him, calling him a secret agent due to his quiet demeanor, but really he's just shy. We've been enjoying our holiday together at home, which has been mostly fun. In fact, he's so quiet that I sometimes forget he's even there, like sharing space with a shadow that devours all the cereal in the pantry. Then came the memorable day. It was a sunny afternoon, and the house felt unusually still. Everyone else had stepped out, leaving just me and him. As I prepared to head out, I called, "Hey, I'll be leaving soon," hoping he was somewhere engrossed in his reading and concocting some master plan. I was halfway through changing when the door creaked open, and I froze. There he stood, looking as though he had seen a ghost. For a moment, neither of us moved. It felt like one of those slow-motion scenes from a film. He stammered, his face flushing a deep red. "Excuse me." "Get out!" I shouted, grabbing the nearest item to cover myself, which unfortunately was a pillow. "I didn't know you were," he began, but I cut him off, yelling, "Out! Out now!" I threw the pillow at him. He dodged it, stumbled over his own feet, and nearly fell. He quickly shut the door, shouting, "Sorry!" from the other side. I stood there, still clutching another pillow, torn between laughter and annoyance. Finally, I burst into giggles. Later he returned, and this time, he didn't bother knocking. He just swung the door open like he owned the place. I spun around, clutching my hairbrush as if it were a weapon. What now?" I exclaimed, half expecting him to trip again and apologize. Instead, he looked serious. Too serious. The kind of serious that made me uneasy. Clearing his throat as if preparing for a grand speech, he said, "I have a request." "What now?" I asked, narrowing my eyes. "If you want your pillow back, forget it." "I'm serious," he replied, stepping into the room, his face reddening even more. "Okay then, just spit it out," I said, crossing my arms. He hesitated, shuffling his feet like a child caught stealing sweets. After a long pause, he mumbled, "I'm sorry." The room felt silent as I stared at him, waiting for more. He avoided my gaze, looking at the ceiling, the floor, and even the odd crack in the wall. Suddenly he blurted out, "I've never hugged a girl before." "Wait, what?" I blinked in disbelief. "I don't know what it feels like," he continued, his words spilling out as if he wanted to get them over with. "And I want it to be with you." I froze for a moment, thinking it was a joke, but he looked completely serious. "Hold on," I said, raising my hand. "You barged in here, scared me half to death, and now you want a hug?" "Yes," he affirmed, nodding as if this was the most logical request ever. I stared at him, trying to gauge whether he had lost his mind, and then I couldn't help but laugh. The whole situation was so awkward and absurd. "You could have just asked without all that drama," I said, still jiggling. "Well, am I getting the hug or not?" he pressed, his face turning an even deeper shade of chocolate. I sighed and shook my head. "Fine, but if you ever pull something like this again, I'm telling everyone you cried during that cartoon movie last week." His eyes widened in horror. "You wouldn't," he exclaimed. I smirked, and that's how I ended up giving my very shy, very dramatic stepbrother his first hug. It was strange but oddly sweet, and I vowed never to let him forget it. After a moment, he pulled back slightly, looking directly into my eyes. There was newfound courage in his expression. "There's more," he said, his voice stronger now. "I've had boys at school talking about, touching a girl's." He pointed at my chest, his voice resembling a ripe tomato about to burst. "I've never done that, but I really want to try. Can I?" I chuckled, finding his awkwardness amusing. You mean you want to fill my, big balloons? I asked, trying to contain my laughter. It was kind of sweet in a silly way. He nodded vigorously, his head bobbing as if it might fall off. Yeah, but I heard they're like big oranges, not balloons, he corrected, still serious but with a hint of a smile creeping in. I paused, contemplating my response, and then I had an idea struck me. All right, I said, trying not to laugh, but only if you do it with your eyes closed. I could already picture how funny this would be. He looked at me, wide-eyed, unsure whether I was serious or just teasing him, but the determination in his eyes suggested he was ready for the challenge. He took a deep breath, squeezed his eyes shut, and stepped forward. I had to stifle a laugh at how honestly he was taking this. This was definitely going to be a moment I would never forget. Deal, he said, eyes tightly shut, his face scrunching up as if confronting a complex math problem. He reached out, but his hands were way off, nowhere near where they should be. I jiggled, gently guiding his hand a little to the left. No, your other left. I laughed as he fumbled around, as if searching for a lost remote control under the couch. Finally, his hands found their target, and his eyes flew open in astonishment. Whoa, they're not like oranges at all. They are more like squishy pillows, he exclaimed, his eyes wider with wonder. We both erupted into laughter, unable to contain ourselves. It felt like watching someone discover an entirely new world for the first time, except this world was just my chest. I couldn't believe how humorous the moment was, and the serious expression on his face made it even better. See? I said between jiggles. You're not just a walking encyclopedia. You're also a space explorer, I teased, trying to catch my breath. He looked at me, unsure whether to laugh or to feel embarrassed, but I could tell he was a bit of both. The sheer absurdity of it all made it even more enjoyable. We laughed until we couldn't anymore, feeling lighter from the ridiculousness of the moment. It became one of those memories that would stick with us forever, like an inside joke we could always revisit. He grinned, his shyness dissipating. I guess I learned something new today. They aren't like oranges or balloons. They're just what they are. I nodded, still chuckling. Yep, and now you've explored the mysteries of the land of the hidden treasure. Welcome to the club of I've touched too. We laughed until our stomachs hurt, and from that day on, things felt a bit less awkward between us. We had shared a hilarious, silly moment that turned into a great story to reminisce about whenever we needed a lift. That day marked a shift in our relationship. It wasn't about anything awkward, but about understanding each other in a way we never had before. Even without discussing it, the rest of the holiday felt different. We began talking more, sharing things we usually wouldn't. I noticed he was opening up to me, and I started feeling like we had forged a new connection. It was as if a new layer had been added to our bond. Although we never mentioned that embarrassing moment again, it lingered like a secret we shared, an unspoken connection that made everything feel more genuine and honest. I began to realize that even the quietest people harbor thoughts and feelings that they might not express. Every individual, regardless of how shy or reserved, has their own curiosities and challenges to navigate. This made me reflect on the importance of truly listening to others and striving to understand them. As the holidays came to an end, we returned to our regular lives and routines. But that day stayed with me, like a treasured memory I held close to my heart. It was a chapter in our story, a chapter we didn't vocalize, but one from which we both learned valuable lessons. It also taught me about the necessity of connection and how even the smallest moments can shift our perception of one another. Surprisingly, after that day, my stepbrother, who had always been reserved, began to change. He started engaging more with others, making friends, and even becoming social, something I never thought I would see. It was as if he had transformed into a new person. Then to my astonishment, he began dating someone. I couldn't believe my eyes. There he was, holding hands with a girl, and they looked genuinely happy together. I never imagined he would find someone, yet there he was, in a relationship that seemed to blossom. They stayed together, marking the final twist in his journey. The quiet, shy boy I had grown up with was now confidently navigating his way through life, and it filled me with joy to see him strive. It just goes to show that people can surprise you. You never know when someone will break free from their shell and discover what truly brings them happiness. If you enjoy this kind of story and want to hear more, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more thrilling content. Your support means a lot. Thank you for being part of this journey.